This is a video lesson for day 4 of our decimals unit. The day 4 learning target is I can model mixed numbers with units of hundreds, tens, ones, tenths, and hundredths in expanded form and on the place value chart. So we're going to be looking to represent mixed numbers in two different ways, expanded form and on the place value chart. So I'm going to give two examples where I go through all the different ways that you can represent a mixed number. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first example here. So I'm going to be using the number 378 and 73 hundredths. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to represent this mixed number on the place value chart. And so I'm just going to place each of the digits in the corresponding place value area on the place value chart. So we have a 3 in the hundreds place, a 7 in the tens place, an 8 in the ones place, a 7 in the tenths place, and a 3 in the hundreds place. So I just took the digits from the mixed number up here and put them in the correct place value slot on the place value chart. So what this will allow me to do is this will actually help me represent this number in expanded form. So expanded form is where we, if you'll recall from earlier in the year, where we take the value of the digit and multiply it by the value of the place value. And I can do this two different ways. I can either do this as fractions, representing these values as fractions, or representing those values that are less than 1 as decimals. So I'm going to show you two different ways that you can do this. So I'm going to get started by doing the fractions representation first. So in order to do this, I'm going to take the number of hundreds I have and multiply it by the value of that place value. So the hundreds place is worth 100, and I'm going to put those two in parentheses. Then I'm going to add, and I'm going to have the value of the tens place, or sorry, the number in the tens place, 7, and then the value of the tens place, which is 10. Then I'm going to add the number of ones I have, multiplied by the value of the ones place, which is 1 whole. And this is where I get into working with fractions, because I'm going to take the number of tenths I have, 7, and multiply that by the value of the place value. So the value of the tenths place is 1/10. And then finally I'm going to take the number of hundredths I have, and I'm going to multiply that by the value of the hundredths place, which is 1/100th. And that's going to give me my answer of 378 and 73 hundredths. So you can see the connection between each of our digits on the place value chart and the corresponding representation in the expanded form. So that was one way we can do the expanded form. The second way we can do it is going to change these two values into decimals. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can do expanded form with decimals. So once again, I'm going to start with my whole numbers are going to actually be exactly the same. So I have 3 in the hundreds place. I have 7 in the tens place. I have 8 in the ones place. And this is where we're going to get a little bit different, because I still have 7 in the tenths place, but I'm going to represent this 1/10 as a decimal. So 0.1. So all I've done to represent it as decimals is I've changed this 1/10 right here written as a fraction to 1/10 written as a decimal. And then I still have 3 in the hundredths place, but I'm going to change this 1/100th written as a fraction to 1/100th written as a decimal, which is 0.01. And then I can represent this number as a decimal, 378 and 73 hundredths. So that's one example of a number, of taking a number, representing it with a place value chart, and then expanding it out into expanded form two different ways. And this is all just going to help us understand the different values of each of the digits in this number. So we're going to take a look at just one more example here to really make sure that we are understanding the concept. And this time I'm going to be looking at the number 920 and 37 hundredths. So my first step is I'm going to place each of the digits in the correct place value on the place value chart. So 9 in the hundredths place, 2 in the tenths place, 0 in the ones place, 3 in the tenths place, and 7 in the hundredths place. So now that I've put each of the digits in the correct place value, this is going to help me with my expanded form. So I'm going to start with the largest place value first. I have 9 in the hundredths place. In hundreds, the value of the hundredths place each is worth 100. And then I'm going to add 2 in the tens place, so the value of the tens place is each one is worth 10. And now I have 0 in the ones place here. I can write it out as 0 times 1, but I also can just leave it. I don't need to include it in because anything times 0 is going to be equal to 0. So in this case, I'm just going to leave it out. I'm not going to include it. And then I'm going to move on to my tenths. And since I'm working with fractions, I'm going to represent the tenths place, the value of the tenths place, 1/10 as a fraction. And then I'm going to add in 7 hundredths, and the value of the hundredths place is 1/100th. And so this gives me my answer of 9 in the hundreds place, 2 in the tens place, nothing for the ones, and, oops, almost wrote it as a decimal there. Forgot we were working with fractions. Then we have 37 hundredths. And just a reminder for our decimals, our whole numbers are going to stay the same. So we have 9 in the hundreds place, 2 in the tens place, and then nothing in the ones place as there's a 0 there. 3 in the tenths place, and I'm going to represent 1/10 as a decimal. And then 7 in the hundredths place, I'm going to represent 1/100th as a decimal as well. And this gives us 920 and 30, oops, not 7 first, 37 hundredths. And to take this expanded form a little bit further, I can actually represent the value of each of these parenthetical statements here, these multiplication statements, below. And so what I'll do is I just multiply it out. So 9 times 100, 900, plus 2 times 10, which is 20, plus 3 times 1/10, which is 3/10, plus 7 times 1/100th, which is 7 hundredths. And if I add those up, I'm going to get the same thing. So all I've done is I've just multiplied them out, which essentially is just replacing the 1 in each of these numbers with whatever we're multiplying it by. And so there you have it, representing mixed numbers in the place value chart and expanded form, and representing the expanded form in both fractions and decimals, and then even going a step further and representing the value of each of the parts of the expanded form equation. So at this point you should be able to answer any of the questions in the Day 4 problem set. But as always, if you get stuck, you can come on back and rewatch any part of the video to get you some help and refresh yourself. So good luck with the problem set, and thanks for watching.